Sponsored in part by DollarSeed.com for your flowers, vegetables, and herbs. All organic seeds, all only $1 a pack. DollarSeed.com. And by WillowSpringsSoap.com. Handmade soaps with simple, recognizable ingredients, making soaps using the cold kettle process while using traditional methods. WillowSpringsSoap.com.
ManureTea.com, authentic Haven brand, 100% natural soil conditioner for the home garden, all your vegetables, herbs, and flowers. ManureTea.com, always free shipping. Squirm and Worm Farm, organic farm and gardening supplies. It's conveniently located in Plymouth, Wisconsin. Worm castings, organic potting soil, organic and heirloom seeds, cover crop seeds, and more. SquirmandWormFarm.com.
Welcome to the Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener Extra. I'm Joy Baird. Well, today we're planting a Three Sisters garden. I have two brothers and Holly has a sister and a brother, but that really has nothing to do with what we're doing here. The Three Sister garden is a traditional Native American way of planting where you combine corn, beans, or you can substitute beans for peas, as well as squash. And we'll explain all that as we go. We've got heirloom corn that we're going to plant here in our little 5-row plot, and we don't have to worry about it because it's pure 100% heirloom corn, no GMOs, so we're treating it like gold. With a Three Sisters garden, you use the corn stalk as a living trellis for the pole beans, which asphyxiate nitrogen into the soil, which is a heavy feeder, the corn is, of nitrogen. You plant both of them in the same hole. In combination with that, we're going to go a little out of the traditional realm and put squash, viney squash, randomly through the plot here, which is traditional, but they kind of put it more they put it a little more densely. Now what that squash does, it is creates a ground cover for the corn and the beans to, one, shade out the weeds that potentially will come and do come in your garden, as well as you get an extra bonus for squash. So let's get started here planting our heirloom corn, our pole beans, and our winter squash. So we've prepped our bed and we've got cages. It's basically, we fenced it in because we've got 3 rabbits that are not friends of ours in the area that I'm wanting to get rid of but can't. So we fenced it in because they're going to come in, they're going to try to eat the beans, they're going to try to eat the corn, and they're going to try to eat the squash. We've got our plot set off here on 9-inch increments. Now, a lot of square foot gardeners will condense their corn, and there's even some square foot gardening methods that allow 64 ears of corn in a 4x4 square 4x4, which is 16 square foot area. I'm coming from the agricultural world. 9 inches, 30-inch row spacing, that's just the way it is for me. So with that, we're going to take our corn, which has been soaking in water. Now, corn can be soaked in water for up to 12 hours, and you have to plant it the day you soak it. This will greatly increase the germination period, as well as if it comes a rain, the seed won't have a tendency to float up as some seeds do because they're not fully hydrated. So we've got that, so we're going to drain the water off that. So what we're going to do is take one corn, and we'll take these pole beans, these Blue Lake pole beans. It's got a little powder on it. The pink powder is just to basically prevent the bugs from eating it. It's not harmful to humans, but you don't want to eat it's not harmful, but you don't want to eat these. You want to eat them when they're harvested. So we'll take a bean and a corn, put them both in the hole, and that's it. Now corn typically will be planted 1.5 inches to 2 inches based on the density of your soil. If you have really loose soil, 2 inches is fine. If you have really dense soil, kind of this clay system here, about 1 inch, 1.25 inches is the deepest you want to go because that seed has got to germinate through the soil. So I'll go ahead and get these planted, and we will start our Three Sisters garden. After I get the beans and corn planted, we'll get the squash planted too. Like I said, we have rabbits, so we're really protecting this corn the best we can. We've got rubber coated fencing on this side, we've got chicken wire on that side, and we've got our fan grates that were against our strawberry patch here that we just moved over, and it'll protect everything here. Now with this front fence, with this wire galvanized fence here, the holes are big enough for the baby rabbits to get through. So what we did was we took, and I've saved these whenever we find junk. In the junk we find these are like mats off of cots or lawn chairs. You can simply cut them in half and they work really good for barriers around plants. You just put a rod in both sides. They've already pre-sewn the sides because that's how it's designed to be on the piece of furniture. So we've got our corn and our pole beans planted. So now we're going to plant our squash. So I've got some butternut squash here that we've started approximately 3 weeks ago inside the house. Now when you do a Three Sisters garden, you typically plant the seed directly and allow it to germinate with the other two sisters. But since we've already got it started, we're going to go ahead and plant it. Now squash plants are very, very sensitive plants when messing with their roots. So one of the ways you can combat this issue is before planting, allow the soil to be very dry, and these stems are extremely tender, so you want to be careful. So what I do is I tap the sides and simply lay it out on the ground like that. And since the soil is dry, it breaks away from the root ball very nicely, and you can divide your plants out. Now obviously the better choice would be to do, if you start these inside, one per container, but again I'm trying to maximize the growing space I have available in the house. So with this I can just very gently pull the roots apart. There's one, there's two. You're going to tear some, that's just a given, but you can see the really good root development. Maybe we won't tear none there. Those two didn't tear at all. Okay, so with this I'm going to basically, in this row here, I'm going to space and put all 4 of those. I've got some peanut pumpkin I'm going to put there, and some other squash. I forget what that is, but we're going to plant that as well. So I concluded the Three Sisters garden by adding 3 more squash, or the Turkish cap, if you're unfamiliar with that particular squash. It's quite a unique squash. It looks like a Turkish cap. And we got those from a squash that our friend gave us last year. We saved those particular seeds. So if the Native Americans have done it for hundreds of years, I trust them that this must be a very wonderful technique of growing vegetables, whether you have Three Sisters or not. So let's go to the front yard and use a vase for some unique planting. So I've got here a vase or a vase or some kind of lawn sculpture thing you'd put in a flower bed, I'm assuming. A couple years ago in a different location we found this coming through a neighborhood. So I figured let's pick it up. I'm sure we could find some use for it. We never did, and when we moved to our new location, it's been sitting in the attic ever since. So I decided, hey, let's try to grow something in it. Now, with this particular item, it's a masonry piece and didn't have no drainage holes in it, so I don't know what you'd use it for, if it's some kind of freaky bird bath or something or another. So in order to create holes, I kind of needed a drill, but you needed a masonry bit to get through this. Fortunately, it was only about a 1/4 inch thick, so I used my redneck ingenuity and took a hammer and a flat screwdriver to puncture holes in the bottom for drainage. Now I know those tools are not intended for that particular use, but it did work. So what we're going to do is going to put this in our window bay unit, our window bay of the basement. We're going to put some compost in it, and we're going to put some beans and a few carrots in it. So in the bottom of this, it's not required to, but I'm going to add some sand that we had laying around just for better drainage. And then whenever the season ends, I can just simply dump it all in the garden, and the sand's basically part of the sand is soil, and it's mixing the soil anyway, so it's not really going to hurt anything. So now it came up about 6 inches or so. Sift that down. So I'm going to take some good compost here that we've got, and I'm just going to fill it up to the edge there, the brim. Won't take much. Give a little compression to this just to make sure we don't have any air pockets. Okay, with that being done, so we're going to take organic black turtle beans, which is a hard shell bean you would let dry on the vine, harvest it out, and put in like a soup of some sort if you're going to go that route. We're going to go 4 of those, and we're going to go right in the center. We're going to put 2 carrots. Now you may think that this may be a complete waste of time having 4 bean plants and 2 carrots in here, but the carrots have got a lot of downward loose soil to grow in, so I'm expecting somewhat large harvest there. And the beans, it's an experiment that serves this container well, being out here filled with soil and seeds than in the attic buried under some junk. Out of 6 seeds, something's going to grow and we're going to get some kind of harvest out of it. So I'm just going to plant them just like you would in normal beans. About a 1/2 inch deep is what I plant them at. And then I'm just going to take 2 carrot seeds and put in the center. If you like what you see, feel free to subscribe and comment. We put out this particular video each and every week with a variety of other video series that you can check out on our YouTube channel. I'm Joey Baird, and this has been a Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener Extra. For more information, you can visit the website, thewisconsinvegetablegardener.com.